Good evening, Central. For those of you that go to Traverse City Central and know me, you'll know that's a reference to the fact that I do the announcements. Anyways, welcome to the official day one of the COVID-19 cast. I'm Henry Hushke, again, a junior at Traverse City Central High School. Yeah, 17 years old. I don't have too much credit in any of this. I'm just kind of using this as a way to kind of share my experience of this crisis and kind of talk about, give some commentary of my own on what I think about it. So, today I'm going to be talking about the situation right now with COVID 19 and my list of the top 10 things to do while you're in quarantine. This is specifically meant for people, about my age. I believe there are 14 states who have closed schools, and I suspect that before even next school week starts, there will be more schools in the United States, or more states in the United States that will close their schools. So there's going to be a ton of teenagers who are being told, social distance, don't go out. And it's going to be a struggle. It's going to be a long period of time that we're going to have to kind of stay indoors, or at least stay in our own quarters. So I'm going to have a top 10 list of the things that you can do to improve that time. So, anyways, going on to the state of the virus right now. So, since even yesterday, and definitely in the last week, the situation with COVID-19 has gotten extremely dire. Definitely, this is no joke, and even for my presumably younger audience, even though this virus certainly is not extremely deadly for us by any means, it still poses a significant risk to our communities, and we have to be extremely vigilant in making sure that we curb the spread. We flatten the curve, as it's called, with this virus. But we also have to keep in mind that no matter what, this virus really is not the end of the world. So we should not panic, but this is a very bad situation, and probably is going to be one of the biggest events we will see in our young lives. Probably one of the biggest news events we've ever seen happening right now with the coronavirus. So let's look at the numbers today. So the current numbers, as I'm recording this, according to the Johns Hopkins GIS and Data Maps site, is about 155,000 confirmed cases, which is obviously a ton of cases. But on the bright side, 72,000 cases have recovered from this disease. So we're seeing lots of recoveries, most of those coming in China. China, it seems, has really been able to curb the spread of this outbreak, and they have it mostly under control after doing such an egregious job at the start. So that's the positive side of this situation. The negative side comes when we look at the current spread in Europe and the United States, both extremely troubling. So if you go to this down in the bottom right here, you can probably see it. If you go to the chart down here and look at just the expanded actual graph of cases, the yellow line is the other locations, the green is the total recovered, and the orange is the Chinese cases. So as you can see, Chinese cases have flattened off dramatically, but we see this exponential curve occurring with the other locations, and this is mainly being fueled by spread really all over the globe, but Europe has been the main driver, with the US starting to come up too. So basically, the way viruses spread is they spread exponentially, right? One person gets it, two people get it, four people get it, eight people get it. So we're not quite sure of what's called the R naught of a virus, which is the number of people one person who's infected will transmit it to, but we suspect it's probably around 3. So just in normal conditions, or maybe even 4, which is incredibly high and incredibly contagious. So one person gets it, they give it to 4 people. Each of those 4 people gives it to 4 more people. So it spreads exponentially until it reaches a certain point in the population where people have herd immunity and that sort of thing. But we are nowhere near that. What we saw in China was these very strict measures that they took were able to curb this. If you look at the logarithmic chart, which is basically a chart that takes account of exponential growth, if you pull this up, you can see that the yellow line pretty much since late January has been pretty much straight, which means the spread is going exponentially with no curb at all. But if you look at the orange line, you see how China's been able to curb this spread. But you really just see a pretty straight line right now with the yellow, and that's what's so troubling is these worldwide cases. Italy today reporting absolutely horrible numbers. They're up to 21,000 cases today. And they're just really in crisis mode right now. In terms of a per person situation, Italy has way more cases in China when you divide the number by their total population, and it's really swamping their healthcare system right now. Now, fortunately, from what I've seen of this virus, when countries take extreme lockdown measures and people go into lockdown, and they do a good job, it really does seem like this virus does the spread slows and it will eventually be under control. That's why I don't believe you may have seen people saying 40 to 70% of the world population will get this. I don't believe that's going to be the case just because so many, like, before that happens, so many bad things are going to happen, unfortunately, that governments are going to be forced to respond. Again, taking this all 17-year-old in high school, this is just my opinion. I've just been following this for a while. But when we look at South Korea, their aggressive testing and their ability of handling the situation incredibly well, same with Singapore and Hong Kong. When you see these countries that have really done excellent jobs in testing, they've been able to curb that exponential spread, and they've been able to get it somewhat more manageable. I believe what's happened in Italy is they let it ride for too long, and then you have to realize that the case numbers, because of the incubation being anywhere from 2 days to 14 days, that means, basically where the cases are now, it's like who had it a week ago. Plus, there's people that haven't even tested that already have it. So Italy basically got behind the 8 ball, and once they realized what was up, it was already too late to stop an immense spread. And it obviously is ballooned into an incredibly big issue for them, and it's overwhelming their healthcare system. And once that happens, the death rate goes up dramatically because you can't actually treat all the people. So it's absolutely critical that we make sure that we can prevent breaking this barrier, and we can stop this terrible spread before it hits a point where we don't have the medical supplies to actually treat for it. So right now I'm seeing very worrying things out of Spain and France, especially with Germany, the UK, Norway, Denmark, Sweden. There are lots of countries, and Switzerland too, that have this exponential spread, and they're just starting to really crack down and cancel things. But still, they're probably going to have another couple weeks where this thing keeps spreading and spreading, and they'll probably get to Italy's point. So I'm really hoping to see, and what I would like to see from this virus is I would like to see that the measures that Italy's taking actually do have an effect in our, I want to see this yellow line on this logarithmic scale. If that slope starts to decrease, that's a very good sign, and that means that it is possible to prevent this virus from spreading to the entire population once it gets going. But I'm really going to be monitoring that. And same with the United States. I said that the reason Italy got so bad is because they kind of didn't realize what was coming until it just hit them all of a sudden. I think right now in the U.S., we've kind of been letting this fester, and we've been letting it start to spread. And I think we're really going to see the hits. I'm extremely nervous about New York City right now. I think they might have an immense problem. My sister lives in New York City, and they still aren't completely shut down. I understand the issue with shutting down schools in New York City with food delivery. I'm thinking maybe they should just leave schools open for food. I'm not quite sure how that would work, but I feel like they cannot leave their schools open with the way we've seen this exponential spread occur, because if it's not curbed, I would expect, out of the things that we know, the problem in the U.S. is our testing has been absolutely terrible. So I've seen absolutely horrible estimates about the U.S., but we just have to assume that the number of cases is much higher than we know, and it's already 2,500 right now. We have to assume that number is much higher, and we have to assume that even if we stopped everything today, we would still see another week or two of these cases increasing, another 2 weeks of increased cases, and we just aren't doing that yet because we haven't seen those. So I'm afraid it'll be too late, but I am confident that we will be able to try to contain this. But it's a difficult situation, and that's why we all have to be pretty vigilant in fighting this. Another concern I have, I know I hate to be such a Debbie Downer with all of this, but we're start to seeing cases pop up in the developing world, all across the developing world. Iran obviously is a kind of an epicenter for the disease, and we don't even know what exactly their numbers are. There's some concerns about their reporting. Frankly, I'm concerned about our reporting again. I really just think that President Trump, for political reasons, downplayed at the start. And yeah, I'm just not confident. I feel like there's censorship in the current administration. But, that's just my opinion. Anyways, I am concerned by the fact that we're starting to see cases in Africa pop up. They're just starting to find cases, which makes me think in the developing world, the spread of this could be much worse, much nastier. So this is a really serious crisis. But again, remember that the mortality rate, the case fatality rate, as far as we know, is anywhere from 1 to 3% probably. If we cross that healthcare threshold, though, that really could increase to anywhere between 5 and 10%. It seems like, but and most of those deaths are coming in the already old and feeble in our population. But again, if we let this thing spread and if we don't take it seriously, there are healthy-ish people who are in their 40s, who are in their 50s, who may not get the medical care they need, and may succumb to this illness. So it's really critical that we deal with this. But again, remember that no matter what, there's still going to be over 95% plus of people around. Like, it's not going to end the entire world. So you got to make sure not to panic, but also take it very seriously. Don't blow it off. I heard one thing on the last day of people talking about hosting like a not prom if we canceled prom up here, which I think is because so much is going to change by then. We'll know so much more that I think attitudes will be different. But again, if our institutions are shut down, that means that we should be heeding their advice. We should not be partying or getting together excessively more than need be. Right now, again, in Grand Traverse County, no cases have been confirmed. But when you look at the Michigan website as of 5:35 on Saturday, March 14th. Oh, by the way, it's Pi Day. I forgot to say Happy Pi Day. I love Pi Day. It's nice. I didn't get pie today. I didn't go to Grand Traverse Pie. I would have normally, but yeah, Happy Pi Day. Anyway, sorry. In our county, we haven't found any cases yet. But again, with our current testing situation and with the incubation period of this virus, there's no being too careful. So even right now, even if there's no cases directly in your area, you still want to maintain some caution, and you really want to avoid big social gatherings outside of just getting your essentials right now. So anyways, remember, wash your hands, practice good hygiene. So anyways, now that I've been Mr. Debbie Downer with this virus, and I'll continue in each of the podcasts, let me know if you think I should front load my virus news or backload the virus news. I'm going to go with just my life right now. So I'm here in my house, fortunate enough to be in my study, and today has been a weird day. I mean, it's just a normal weekend day, kind of, but I know there's going to be at least 3 weeks. I believe that will likely turn into something closer to a month and a half, but there's at least 3 weeks here where I don't know what to do. I don't know what I'm going to be doing. I suspect that there will eventually be cases here. I suspect things will escalate. So I'm preparing like there's going to be an outbreak here, and I'm trying to figure out, again, for us teens who are here, what do we do? So I made a list this afternoon of the top 10 things to do while social distancing. So here's the list. So number one I came up with was read. It's kind of a corny thing, read a book, but think about it. There's going to be so many things where we're going to be tempted to be on our screens all day. And I know, if you spend too much time looking at a screen, as I've learned from making this first episode, your eyes start to get strained. You can get headaches. it's just not that healthy to stare at a screen 24/7. I know I'm sounding like the biggest boomer ever. I know that. But a lot of these other things involve staring at a screen or doing something like that. So I think reading a book is really just a fantastic way to get to kind of escape from the world if you're anxious or something. And yeah, I my book recommendations. I'm not sure. I'm fortunate enough. My sister works in the publishing company, so she's sent us many books. I have probably 15 books that I have not read that she sent me over the past years, that I could now have the time to read. So it's actually kind of amazing. It's kind of great, and I would say it's a silver lining in this terrible tragedy. So I'd say take advantage of that. Read a book. I'd recommend, if anyone has ever, if they have read Rising, that would be a book I'd recommend reading. Yeah. So number one is read. Number two is make sure stay on top of your school. It's going to be super easy, and I'll probably be guilty, despite putting this at two on the list, of getting behind with our schoolwork that we're given online. It's super easy to ignore that and be like, um, I'm not going to do this. Are you kidding me? Or just procrastination. It's going to be super easy. So, for instance, for you people in Gov, have you finished your Gov bill? It's due on Sunday in my class. Um, you know, uh, we have things that we need to do and stay on top of, and hopefully, when we defeat this virus, we're gonna be back in school, and we're gonna be taking. If you have AP classes, you're gonna be taking your AP tests. And same goes for like a SAT. I was supposed to take the SAT today, and it got canceled, unfortunately, which was a pretty bad blow. Unfortunately, I did take the ACT, but yeah, it's still a bad blow. Um, so, be productive. Keep up with schoolwork. Don't just let it fade into the background. Number three, teach yourself a new skill would be my advice. So when I was little, I used to live in Florida. Just some more information about me. I used to live in Florida. Anyways, I used to take piano lessons, and I took piano lessons up to the summer before sixth grade. And then um, we moved, and basically the person who I'd done piano lessons with was kind of far away. Like I had a ton of other interests, so I didn't play the piano. So a few months ago, I decided, you know what, I'm gonna start looking to playing the piano, and I haven't really been like keeping up with it that much. But now that I have these 3 weeks, I'm like, I'm gonna learn how to play the piano. I have a period of time. I'm gonna teach myself a new skill, and same with this podcast. Um, Go ahead and make something. Think of things that you could do that you put off or maybe dropped off because you were focused on school or whatever, and pick those things up. Again, I'm fortunate enough to have a piano in my house. I realize that. But again, if there's anything you can think of that you've always wanted to do, start doing it. If you've wanted to write poetry, maybe now would be the time to start writing poetry. Or if you wanted to write a book, now would be, or write some sort of screenplay or something. Right now, you have the time where, maybe your imagination's flowing because of all the news right now, and you can really, you have this chance to make something. So that's number three on the list. Number four on the list is be helpful to your parents and your grandparents too. This is going to be super difficult times for them. There's so many stresses, not only the virus itself, like I talked about, but economic stresses. It's very uncertain times right now, and tensions are high, and you're probably going to be in a confined space with them for long periods of time. So you want to get off on the right foot. You want to make sure you're helping them out and assisting them, and especially with your grandparents. Again, I would suggest maybe even you go out and do things instead of your grandparents. If they need to get something like medication or something like that, you can go pick that up for them. Make sure to follow all the proper hygiene protocols, and do those things for them so they limit their exposure if this virus is in your community. Okay, so number five is one of my favorites. Listen to music. I know this is kind of obvious, honestly, but I really do think listening to music is a great thing to do. You can listen to so many different genres. I have Apple Music. I know I don't use Spotify. Um, I know, but like just go on Apple Music and just like try out different stations. Like just listen to things you never listened to before because that can be a great way to spend your time and kind of open up your horizons. Heck, I don't know if you've ever seen like there's so many random things, even just on the internet, that you can look up of different musicians who are doing cool things. You can look up, these are super famous or pretty famous people, but Vinatero like plays the piano on YouTube. So does Rousseau. And, they have really interesting songs, and it's just a good way to spend your time. And it's kind of calming and relaxing and just all around good for the soul during these periods. Okay, so that was number 5. Listen to music, expose yourself to new genres, new things. And number 6 is if you're fortunate enough to have a yard, or just even if you don't have a yard, make sure to get some exercise still through this. For instance, I have dogs. I don't know if you can hear, but one of them's barking in the background. I have 2 dogs, Harry and James, and I take them on. I'm gonna be taking them on walks around our neighborhood. Making sure not to get too close to anyone. Even today, we don't actually have any cases here in Grand Traverse yet, so I'd say it's still acceptable. If you want to go to a park again, just don't go super close to anyone or make too close a contact. But get out there, get moving, get some sunshine on your body. It's been found that vitamin D is known to be essential to your immune system, a really important part. So you want to get your vitamin D. Of course, with this cloudy day, it's not really a possibility here in TC, but you want to get your vitamin D, that sort of thing, and get that. So again, do some exercise, do some jumping jacks, do whatever. Get your blood flowing, keep your blood flowing, and just, I realize I don't have this written here, but also just make sure to keep eating healthy. Don't eat only junk food or that sort of thing. Yeah, stay healthy. Okay, number 7 is reach out and talk to your friends and FaceTime with people so you can keep human contact. A big key with this, especially as it goes on, is just trying to not be lonely. FaceTime that person, maybe even if it's someone you don't know that well. FaceTime that person from your 5th hour whatever class. Just talk to them for a little bit, because I'm sure we're all going to be kind of, lonely at times throughout this, and we're all going to need someone to lean on. I guess that's pretty cliche, but someone to talk to. And I think that'll be really key for making sure that we don't go crazy if this goes on longer than we anticipate or would like. So yeah, I think that's really key. Maybe in the future days, in the future episodes, I'm going to try to think of maybe some unique things you could do with people on FaceTime or something. I haven't had that long to think about these things, but I'll certainly think about them in the coming days and share those with you in the future. So number 8. So number 7 was reach out and talk to people. Number 8 is do some research. I can't emphasize this enough. Do some research and binge watch all the shows that you've ever wanted to binge watch. So I'm sure you've already thought about this already. I'm sure this came to your mind first, like, I'm gonna have to be in my house for long periods of time. I'm sure it's like, all right, binge watch Netflix came to your mind first. And I would totally agree with that. I'd say maybe as part of your number 7, reaching out and talking to people, maybe FaceTime your friends, ask them what they've been watching, that sort of thing. Get a plan before you get onto these sites and like figure out exactly what you want to binge watch, and maybe even set a schedule to watch one a day instead of binge watching. That way you get a little bit of structure in your life, you have something to look forward to each day, and you can get through the show. Let's say you have a 20 episode show, you have 21 days. You plan it out right now tonight, and you watch you watch one episode per night, and you kind of get that structure. You look forward to 8:30 or whenever you decide to watch it, and you do that could be a really great way to maintain a little bit of normalcy during this time and maintain a schedule, which is really good for your mental health. Okay, number 9 is the one that I am most not looking forward to, most anxious about. Cleaning up. So I know for me personally, my bedroom, I wouldn't say it's like a nuclear waste zone, but it's definitely messy. And like it's always been the sort of thing where it's like, I got to do my calc homework, you know. Yeah, I could, rearrange my desk, or I could just do this calc homework, or oh, I got bio to do. So it's always been something I put off, like, oh, I got the SAT, whatever. So now you actually have some time. So now it would be the time actually to get organized in your life and clean up. Do a little spring cleaning. It's that time of year. Um, yeah, number 9, clean up. All right, and number 10 is remain informed about the virus, about COVID-19 and the outbreak, and its local impact on your community. I put this last on the list because we want to avoid maybe getting obsessive over this crisis since it's so fast changing and volatile. You don't really want to get too obsessed like me, frankly. For the past 6 weeks, I've been on the Johns Hopkins, um, data tracker, and I've been reading local reports. I've been following the stock market, all that sort of thing, and every day. And I don't think that's a good thing to do. I'm going to continue to monitor pretty closely these sorts of things because I'm making this and because I'm still interested in them. But I do recognize that, get some distance from that. But on the other hand, you still do want to stay informed about the situation, and you want to know what the local situation is. Especially, you want to know if your local region if you start to notice that on that logarithmic chart, they're starting to slow the exponential spread. For those of you in calc, the second derivative has turned negative on the outbreak, or what. You really want to stay informed about that, and you want to have as much information as possible. Still in the U.S. here again, our testing is very limited, and we still have very limited knowledge of the scale, but things are definitely getting better in this realm, and we should have much more complete information in the coming weeks. Hi guys, I am back just for this final outro. I'm going to be playing what I've figured out so far of Claire de Lune for you as a little bit of comforting music to end the podcast. Okay, so that wasn't quite it, and that's not the ending of the song at all. That's pretty much just the opening, and the end I kind of fudged there a little bit, but yeah. All right, stay safe, everyone. Have a perfect Pi Day.